Scratch is a block-based coding website. Swedish is a language that I cannot speak. But after spending a year learning Scratch and deciphering one YouTube comment written in Swedish before using the translate button, I have garnered confidence that I can code a Scratch game in Swedish. The why. Okay, so you might be wondering, why would you do this to yourself? And the answer is that throughout my time making Scratch games, I have had this tendency to just keep scrolling over the block I need over and over again, wasting time until I just end up reading through them. However, if I'm forced to decipher either the word or the block, who knows? Maybe I'll eventually have an epiphany and start recognizing the blocks. Or I could recognize neither and be even worse off, but that's unlikely. The what? It feels appropriate that since we're starting with Swedish, we should try to code the most popular Swedish game of all time. Are we there yet? No, obviously I'm doing Minecraft. But with the hour and a half or so time constraints, since anything longer in my editing software decides everything is at least 100 gigabytes, I'm not sure if I can get much done at all. Unless, of course, that is, I remember what the blocks do. The how. I would like to apologize to, well, everybody, but especially if you can speak Swedish for how I pronounce these words.
Alright, so the first thing I have to do is get rid of this whole English thing. I am great with languages, like hur mår du? I think that's how it's said. And you should say, jag mår bra. Yes, pretty much, I know how to find this. När klickas på?
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, yes! You see, I know a phrase in Swedish. Not a phrase, just like kind of a greeting. Like, I know how to say hey, and that's cool. And I can say hur mår du, if that's how it's pronounced. That's how you feeling, you know, just comment your response. Probably bad if you could speak Swedish, I guess. Remember to like the video and subscribe! The first thing I did was begin stealing assets. Not immediately, actually, this time. I used Novaskin for the Steve assets, but everything else was from Bing Images. Just to spite them. But coding actually started pretty smoothly.
Na klickas på, storlek. Andra storlek med 30. That's raising the size, okay. Set storleken till 30%. Perfect.
Smoothly, I would note, is a relative term, and for my games, this is relatively smooth. But rapidly, the language barrier closed in.
Yes, one of these. This is motion. Royals. Is this sensing? This must be sensing. S trycks tangenten S trycks ned för alltid andra set. Sat is set. So andra is going to be change.
My biggest problem here, though, wasn't the language that I couldn't read, but what I can only assume was a bug, because there is no other explanation. Not even me being a bad coder before you start typing that. I see you in the comments. The problem. The problem that I was facing was that the variables or something like that weren't changing with my written code. Yet, when the code was duplicated and then the original deleted, suddenly they were working like I expected. Which would be fine and all if I could read the blocks to know that I'd written it correctly, but I can't. So I just flailed around for like 15 minutes trying to decipher the words and figure out the problem, only for it to not actually even exist. And what did I say about time constraints?
Well, this makes even less sense. I mean, what? Like what? Huh? If moving equals -1, change it to Steve forward run. Why is it getting to Steve forward idle without ever getting to Steve forward run? Also, I understand the problem here now. Okay, so W is setting it to 1. And if it equals 1, it's changing it like that. And S is setting it to -1, and when it's set to -1, we're just going to refresh the page. Nothing's different. Oh yeah, of course, nothing was actually different. Of course that was the problem, that nothing was different, so that's... Okay.
Right, so having used up a decent chunk of my time and no closer to understanding the words, or the blocks for that matter, I have a Steve that kinda moves around the game and looks... alright. Next, I had the brilliant idea of using clones for the ground so you could, mine. Which went over relatively smoothly.
Yeah, I know Yag is I, so I'm gonna guess Zata som clone is gonna be when I start as a clone. But let's just get clones going first. Let's make sure they're all in the right spot 7 times, and we're gonna want it to do 9 across. So 7 times. We're gonna want that to repeat 9 times. Change x by 20. Change x by 50, maybe? Okay, that almost looks right. Okay, and then we're going to change y by 50. Wait, no, change y by -50. Sorry, -50. Wait, no, set x to -217. Okay, something's obviously wrong.
The main problem I had here was not with the language, because, come on, set obviously means set, but with the positioning. And once I'd realized I'd entered this number wrong, it quickly fell into place. What I did next, though, showed just how little I understood either the language or the blocks. You see, I now wanted a way to mine the grass, specifically by clicking on them. But as I couldn't read the language, I kept scrolling over when sprite is clicked, and instead found myself trying to understand what the keys were under the when key is pressed block. Or should I say, när tangenten trycks ned block. No, I shouldn't.
I mean, pill's gotta be like arrow, right? That's spacebar. Spacebar. Melon slug. Spacebar. No, that works for me. Actually, no, it really doesn't, does it? Because... Wait, if touching. There's gonna be an if touching.
After that debacle, I created a new sprite to center the hitbox for mining grass, which you think would be simple. And you'd be right, but not as simple as you'd think. Apparently I was correct earlier when I thought that I was going faster up and to the right, compared to down and to the left. And I'm still not sure why that is. But this one you can probably blame on me being a bad programmer. Yep, you can use the mean comments can work for this one. I'll take it. Regardless, now that I can mine, you can probably guess what I'll add next. Placing, that's right! Which I thought, since I'd already made the mining, that this would be comparatively simple. But no! This was much more complex, as I don't know why, because the clones didn't follow the main code for movement with the grass generation, but they are doing that with the wood placement. For whatever reason.
Oh, okay. Yes, so I can't, yeah. Okay, I see. Go till sprite 1, go to sprite 1, show, and then spawn a clone, right? Spawn a clone. Oh. Okay, that's a second problem. What?
And yes, in the meantime I added the cobble backdrop and fixed the gaps in between the grass. Just goes to show that attention to detail is much more important than trivial things like working mechanics or gameplay. Anyway, I eventually solved the wood placement problem. Kinda. I instead had the location move under the when I start as a clone block, which I just found, and that works great for about 8 blocks, and then it sees fit to just ignore my code. Do what it wants and just keep stacking wood over wood over wood. Like, at first I thought it was just a clone limit, but obviously that isn't true, as there's clearly more than 8 grass blocks, and I can pull more wood from the last spot anyway. So, I don't know how to solve this file just being rebellious. Nobody told me what to do in the face of an AI uprising. So I did what I do best and flew the white flag. I conceded. My time limit was pretty much up and I was out of ideas. Which leaves us with this.
We didn't even get the full 8 that time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I don't know. You know, we got someplace. You know, it's a bit pitiful, but we got somewhere, and that counts for something, possibly, maybe. Not really. I can mine or build. It's very hardly a sandbox game because nothing works.
Man, that's a great game. It looks just like the hit game Minecraft. And so that's how I made Mine Place in Swedish on Scratch. Thanks for watching. It was a bit of a mouthful at the end there.